Let me ask you a question. God closed Sarah's womb, didn't he? Until the appointed time, of course. Could he have not closed Hagar's womb because her son will not be the promised son? Why didn't God do that? Life can sometimes get really messy, and those messes perhaps were created by our own selfishness, our own ignorance or foolishness. But there are times we find ourselves in the middle of a mess we did not create. We had nothing to do with it, and definitely we did not initiate it. The story in Genesis chapter 16 is about a young woman, a slave called Hagar. Sometimes she is viewed as a victim and sometimes as a villain. But the bottom line of this story is a revelation of a victor. Of a victor who knows all, who sees all, and who hears all. That's what this story is about. Hagar found herself in the middle of a mess she did not create, and definitely she did not initiate. But in that, she found her Messiah, a Messiah with a message of blessing and multiplication. Let me ask you a question. God closed Sarah's womb, didn't he? Of course, until the appointed time. Could he not close Hagar's womb because her son will definitely not be the promised son? He'll not be the heir. Why didn't God do that? Why didn't God close Hagar's womb? I want you to think about it, and hopefully by the end of this video, it's my prayer that you would see the character of God, that you would see how God deals with people individually and really know Him for who He is. It's important because when you find yourself in a chaotic situation, in a problem or a difficulty that you did not initiate or you did not create, you will know for sure that the Lord who came through for Hagar, the God who saw and heard Hagar, is also the God who sees you, who hears you, and who cares for you. I want to continue from where I left off in the last video, which was a while ago, but let's take from Genesis chapter 16, verse 7. Now the angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness. The angel found her. Can you believe that? The angel found her. Isn't it amazing that God's great mercy finds us when we run away? Let's continue reading. Now the angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur. He said, Hagar, Sarai's slave woman, from where have you come and where are you going? And she said, I am fleeing from the presence of my mistress Sarai. So the angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit to her authority. The angel of the Lord also said to her, I will greatly multiply your descendants so that they will be too many to count. The angel of the Lord said to her further, behold, you are pregnant, and you will give birth to a son, and you shall name him Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your affliction. There are four important things that really stand out in this encounter that Hagar had with God. The first thing that we need to remember is God confronts us with questions. God confronts us with questions, Actually, let me ask you a pop quiz. What is the very first question that God asked in the Bible? What's the very first question? God said to Abraham, where are you? That's what he asked. That's the very first question that God asked in the Bible. Now, that was after Adam ate that forbidden fruit. But now God is asking Hagar a similar question. Where have you come from and where are you going? I remember a story that Les Brown mentioned in a conference. During the Second World War in England, the English soldiers would stop passenger trains and wake up people in the middle of the night and ask them this, where are you coming from and where are you going? This was tumultuous times. There was Second World War going on during that time. And those soldiers may have asked that question to probably interrogate or to get information or perhaps to look for possible spies. But God asks us that question not to know new information, but for confession. God asks us questions for confession. He already knows everything about it. The confrontation is for confession. And the Lord continues to ask you today, where are you? Where are you going? God knows exactly where you are. We cannot hide from Him. He wasn't looking for a missing person when He said, Adam and Eve, where are you hiding? Where are you? Oh, I can't see you. He didn't ask them for information. He wanted them to understand the ramifications, the consequences of what they had done. God asked the woman at the well, go bring your husband. Is it because God didn't know that she had 5 husbands and the person she is now living with is not her husband? Did He ask her because He had no clue? No. He asked because He wants us to confess. Why? Well, that brings us to the second point. Confession, it releases blessing. Now, do you know that guidance for life and blessing will not be released until you confess? If you don't confess, there'll be no further clarity. God established authority. God said, Hagar, Sarai's slave woman, from where have you come and where are you going? She said, I am fleeing from the presence of my mistress Sarai. Hagar's authority was Sarai, and Hagar spoke the truth. She didn't mince words. She didn't say, well, I'm actually going for a walk to take a break, or she didn't say, I'm going on a trip to see my family in Egypt. She said, I'm escaping. I am running away from my boss. She was very direct and honest. And that's exactly what God desires of us. Confession. She recognized that Sarai is her mistress and that she is running away from her. Speaking the truth opens a door for God to work in our lives. It's very important. Speaking the truth opens God to bless us. It opens a door for the blessing of God to come upon us. He's not pleased when we hide or try to sugarcoat what we did. When we confess our sins, we are forgiven. Our offenses are washed away. And our fellowship with the Lord is restored. In Proverbs 28 verse 13, it says, He who covers his transgressions will not prosper, but whoever confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. So instead of covering your offenses, we should confess. And also in 1 John 1:9, also it says, if we confess our sins, He is faithful and righteous to forgive us our sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. God gives a promise, a new direction and destiny for Hagar and her son after her honest confession. The angel of the Lord also said to her, I will greatly multiply your descendants so that they will be too many to count. Her confession brought blessing. The third thing to remember is sometimes God asks us to do the most difficult thing, the exact thing that we don't want to do. If we go back to chapter 16, verse 9, so the angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit to her authority. It's like, oh no, not that one thing. Sometimes we try and bargain about things we hate to do, but God asks us to do the exact thing we try to run away from. Hagar had to return and face the problem, submit to that person that she so despised that she didn't want to be under her authority. At this point, though, Hagar needed to make a decision to work on her attitude. When God confronts us with something, we also need to make decisions. But the thing is, decisions need discipline to back them up. Decisions without the discipline will not work. Hagar decided to go back, but she also needs discipline to set her attitude in check. No more despising, no more contempt, no more acting up, no more prideful behavior. Hagar had to make a decision to discipline herself. When God confronts us, we need to do the difficult thing, the difficult job of backing our decisions with the discipline that is needed for the spiritual life. The fourth important thing here is no problem is too complicated for God. There are 3 people in this story. that made serious mistakes. Sarah, who wanted to do God's will, but she came up with her own plan in her own way. And then there is Abraham, who went along with Sarah's plan. He was supposed to be the leader of the house. He was supposed to take up the leadership and say no to Sarah's plan, but he went along with her. And then there is Hagar, who became so prideful. Her pride became unchecked after she got pregnant, and then she eventually ran away from the consequences of it. I asked you in the beginning of this video, why didn't God prevent Hagar from having Ishmael? Because God is all powerful. He could prevent it. Why not? You know why? Because God works in spite of our mistakes. He is sovereign. He's not bound by our limitations. He wants to show that His ways are much higher than our ways. He cares for the sparrow. He revealed Himself equally to the patriarchs, but He also revealed to the slave girls. He's not a partial God. And even in this complicated, twisted, and knotted situation, God revealed Himself as sovereign, omniscient, and omnipotent. He proved Himself to be a God who sees, who hears, and who cares, individually for each one of us. Isn't that so comforting? I hope this was a blessing to you. I'll see you again in the next video.